Cameroonians, how na they, how far? Because before I start, I just have one question for you all. If you're from Cameroon, let me just give me the answer in the comment section. How did you guys cope? How did you cope? Because I'm just here wondering, how can someone, just one single person, be the president for 50 whole years? That's like more than a decade before I was born. 50 good years, Paul Biya has ruled Cameroon without any coup, no overthrowing of his government and none of that. I don't think that this can happen in Nigeria. This is not me being biased, but I do not think. Because take, for example, the president that we have currently that is being accused of, peddling drugs. Before he became the president, look at the antagonism that he has gotten so far. Look at the criticism, the backlash that he has gotten so far. Now imagine him being in office for 50 years. No, he cannot even be the president for 10 years before he will get overthrown. But like I said, how did you guys do it? I always say this, that, it's only in Africa that you have politicians who will get into power and they would never want to leave. They never resign. Not in Africa, not in Nigeria. I've never heard, political office holder just say, because of so and so controversy, or because I'm being accused of so and so, I am going to resign. Anyway, enough of my long talk, because I just need to delve right into the details of today's news. But before we, go into the details, if this is your first time here or you have not subscribed to this channel, kindly click on the subscribe button down below. Turn on the post notification bell as well. Hit the like button, don't forget, because that way we're encouraged to give you more reliable and authentic news. Paul Biya has finally been removed in the most peaceful coup in the whole of Africa. I think, in fact, the world. This is the most disciplined coup that ever happened in the history of Africa, in the history of the world, because there was no bloodshed, no gunshots, nothing of that sort, and his government was overthrown. By the way, this is a man that I do not even think if he's the one that was still ruling, because apparently sources have it that it was his wife and his close associates that was ruling the government, because half of the time, because of his dementia, because of his condition, he has no idea where he is. Imagine him going for a summit, the Europe-African summit, and when he got up to the stage to give a speech, he was asking, like, where am I? Who are these people? Who are these people? Where am I? In his native language. Because of his condition, the people around him decided, to still push him ahead and allow him to continue. They just decided to pass him. I know that half the time, or most of the time, he does not even know what's going on, because the man is old, 90-something years old, someone that is supposed to be at home, retiring, enjoying his life, just with his grandchildren and his children. Anyway, guys, Paul Biya, Cameroon's longest-serving president, has been removed from power in a stunning and bloodless military takeover that sent shockwaves across Africa. For nearly 5 decades, Paul Biya held a tight grip on the country. His rule outlasted many African leaders, and his presence shaped nearly every part of Cameroonian life. But in a sudden turn of events, his presidency ended, not with a civil war, not with mass protest, but through a calm and calculated military operation. The announcement came in a short, powerful broadcast from a military spokesperson. President Biya has been removed from office. The message was direct. The effect was electric. Within hours, crowds gathered in the streets. Some danced, others wept. There was no violence, only raw emotion and overwhelming relief. For many, it felt like the chains of a long, silent oppression had finally broken. The mastermind behind the operation was Brigadier General Arnold Ambassi, a quiet strategist admired within the army ranks. He had built trust among a younger generation of soldiers who were educated overseas and driven by a vision of national dignity. Working alongside him was Sergeant Didier Ekule, who helped coordinate the plan. Together, they led a team that acted with remarkable precision. They avoided loud confrontations or dramatic takeovers. Instead, they moved like shadows. They replaced Biya's presidential guards quietly. They locked down key command centers. Power changed hands in the dead of night without a single gunshot. Many are calling it the most disciplined and peaceful military transition in Africa in decades. Citizens saw it as a message. Real change doesn't have to come with blood. During Biya's presidency, Cameroon became deeply tied to France. In exchange for political support, France gained open access to the country's rich natural resources, oil, timber, and minerals. The cost? Cameroonians remained trapped in poverty, while French companies racked in billions. The new military leaders wasted no time. They opened the doors of the presidential archives. What they found stunned even the most cynical observers. Financial documents show that billions of Cameroon's public funds had been diverted into foreign accounts in France. Other records detailed secret meetings where French diplomats allegedly influenced election outcomes and helped preserve Biya's power because they know that that is the only way they would continue to benefit from the country's natural resources, because when they have their own ally in power, corruption will persist. And that way, they're able to, continue exploiting the country. Biya takes his own cut. The French colonial masters, they also take their own cuts. I think that's probably the reason why, this coup happened in Cameroon is because of the recent coups that have been happening in most of, the countries that were colonized by French. Most of these countries suddenly opened their eyes and, they started, taking back their freedom from French. If not that, taking back their freedom from France. If not that, France is very greedy. How can you still be exploiting a country just because you colonized them? You continued to exploit these countries to your advantage, while the citizens of a country are in poverty, living in poverty, dying of malaria, of sicknesses. You can imagine that, which is why, a lot of people have been giving this young man, Ibrahim Traore, they have been giving him kudos for what he's doing in his country, because he has taken back his country from France. And now, because France they no longer have any influence in the country, they are now trying to kill him, paying his own soldiers, members of his own military, his own army, to kill him. And because those people, they know that if we kill this our savior, before we get somebody like him to change this country, it will be hard. Imagine them collecting the money and they went to him and say, we have been paid to kill you, but we are not going to do it. So and so paid us. Imagine the level of loyalty, because they know where they are coming from and they know where they are going. And they know that the only person that can take them there is Ibrahim Traore. Anyway, guys, moving on. With these revelations, many Cameroonians now see the past not just as a dictatorship, but as an international betrayal. The new leaders have ignored outrage from France. Their silence speaks volumes. For the first time in decades, many people believe Cameroon might finally belong to Cameroonians. The fall of Biya also sends a strong message to other African nations ruled by aging leaders clinging to power. It shows that change is possible, and it doesn't always need to come with chaos. In homes, markets, and schools, people now talk about hope. Parents speak of a future where their children might live with dignity. Young people feel their voices matter again. Soldiers feel proud to serve the people, not a single man. Analysts say the next steps will be critical. The military must show transparency, build trust, and create a path for democracy. But for now, the nation is breathing. Paul Biya's time is over. The people are rising. The world is watching. Let's have your thoughts and your opinions in the comment section below. Imagine a country where people of 50 years old below only know one person as a leader since they have been born. Since they have been born, since they became aware of politics, they've only known one man by the name Paul Biya as the president of a country. No change, nothing. The same person ruling a country for 50 whole years. You can imagine. And yet, he does not see a reason to resign. Or probably the people around him does not see a reason for him to resign. There are other African countries like this as well. We have an African country where, after the president ruled to a particular age that he could no longer carry out his duties and he had stroke. The son had to take over. You can imagine. It's now hereditary. Only in Africa would you find, such level of impunity. Only in Africa. You all, let's have your thoughts and your opinions in the comment section. Thank you very much for always watching and listening. I will see you all in my next video. Bye for now.